All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell. I know, you know, pushing out an episode, a couple weeks after the fact. We do apologize. Life happens, jobs happen, everything happens, but we are going to talk about the life of Jay Briscoe tribute show
Yeah,
that happened on ROH, which was recorded right after Dynamite and Rampage in Fresno, California. So, of course, as always, we're going to take it away to Marty before we talk about AEW Rampage and Dynamite for
yeah.
the week.
So keep in mind this was a 3 hour show that was mostly comprised of just um, various like Ring of Honor people, whether it be past or present, that were reminiscing about Jay Briscoe. So, not to mention there were a lot of like they were showing a lot of Jay Briscoe's like greatest moments and matches, which those matches I will talk about, but the Ring of Honor stars is just not much to talk about there. I mean, you had like Christopher Daniels, Adam Cole, Samoa Joe, who Samoa Joe was very emotional about the loss of Jay Briscoe, which was rare that you saw him that way. But you even had Austin Gunn show up. You had like a producer for AEW now reminiscing. So, but how it started was they played a video package celebrating the life and legacy of Jamin Pugh, which is the same one that they showed on Dynamite, um, which we will talk about later with that. But then we get into the first bit of action for the day for this show. Wheeler Yuta put his Ring of Honor Pure Championship on the line against Hagane Shino, in which Wheeler Yuta beat Hagane Shino to retain. So yes, I mentioned earlier how they were showing matches and moments of Jay Briscoe's career. The first of which being Final Battle 2014, where Jay Briscoe faced Adam Cole in a fight without honor for the Ring of Honor World Title. Then after that, we get Adam Cole coming down to the ring to cut an emotional promo about his rivalry in Ring of Honor with Jay Briscoe and what Jay meant to everyone, including him. Um, Not much to talk about with this. Marina Shafir beat Mighty Myra, and no disrespect to Marina Shafir, but at the same time, I was looking at it. I'm like, honestly, I feel like if there's any place where Marina Shafir would like fit in, it's probably Ring of Honor, so that she can like start honing her craft and like getting some. But then we get another flashback. This time to Survival
Actually,
of the.
before I know kind of some news. So, with this, with No Final Bell, we are actually going to push out two episodes this week. We're gonna have um, this episode, which we are recording on Monday, be released on Monday, and then we're going to also watch Dynamite and Rampage, and that's going to be pushed out on Wednesday, probably at a later time. Usually not at
Okay,
probably not at 5. Yeah, because because
which
Brian, you know, who I am also in charge with on Tinkle Sports Entertainment, we're going to push out two episodes. So be mindful that don't get confused. 69 is going to be, I know, nice. It's going to be released at least today. And then episode 70, which will be recapping last week's episode, so we can be on par and on time with everything like that, will be Wednesday. So be looking out. We're not going to do it
yeah.
all the time, but we are going to push out two episodes this week.
Also with that, we get the return of Impact Wrestling talk. So for those that missed Impact Wrestling talk, it will be coming back. But so back onto the Ring of Honor tribute show with we get another flashback, this time to Survival of the Fittest 2016, when Jay Briscoe faced off against Christopher Daniels. Um, Back to the actual taped matches of Ring of Honor. We have Eddie Kingston beating QT Marshall, which that match was kind of funny to me because and it's not funny in the sense of oh yeah, this is funny that they're having a match to no. I'm not saying that and I don't mean to come off as disrespectful to Jay Briscoe or whatever. But no, I'm just saying that match was funny to me just in what happened within the match. Um at at one point during the match, excuse me, there was a point where they're brawling on the outside of the ring. Eddie Kingston brings QT Marshall over to an area of the barricade and an area of where there were fans, and he was telling the fans hey, hold him back so I can chop him, and so they do that. He, they chopped him. Eddie chopped QT. Then QT takes Eddie Kingston over to the same area. QT is hey, hold him, and the fans are no. QT's what do you mean no? And so then Eddie took him back. He's hey, hold him again. Oh, hell yeah, we'll hold him again. Chop him again. And they did it on another side of the ring, or another side of the ringside area, and the fans held him. He chopped him. So, but, that spot, anytime I see that kind of spot, it's always funny to me when they get the fans involved and, have them hold back the wrestlers just so they can get chopped across the chest.
Right.
But so then we also have Athena taking on Madison Rayne, which Athena beat Madison Rayne. This match was very interesting to me, and as I was watching it, I was why are they giving? Why is this match even happening? First of all, no disrespect to the match and no disrespect to the performers involved in the match, but at the same time, it's why on a Jay Briscoe tribute show are we getting Juice Robinson versus Brandon Cutler? But regardless, Juice Robinson beat Brandon Cutler as I would have expected. Um, then we get what could possibly be the cutest wrestler in AEW, even though I don't think she's actually signed. Yuka Sakazaki taking on Sandra Moon. Yuka Sakazaki beats Sandra Moon. And then our final flashback match, this time from Final Battle 2006, way, way long ago, when the Briscoes took on the Kings of Wrestling, Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli, in which Claudio actually had hair. So it's rare to see a match in a clip of Claudio Castagnoli with hair. But and I was watching the match, I was wow. Even for 2006 standards, that match held up very well. And then in the main event of this tribute show for Jay Briscoe, we had a Ring of Honor World Championship match between Claudio Castagnoli and Christopher Daniels. Claudio beats Christopher Daniels via the J Driller to retain the Ring of Honor World Championship. What a great way to pay tribute to a great man.
I know.
So that is it for the Ring of Honor tribute show to Jay Briscoe. Now we get on to Dynamite and Rampage.
Yeah. From a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. So we start off the night. You got, we talked about it. Depending on what happened with Daniel Garcia and the match between him and Action Andretti, whoever wins, it would either be, Sammy Guevara or Daniel Garcia. But it was, unfortunately, it was It was Sammy Guevara. So we actually got
It
Les
was. I
Sex
was gonna say it
Gods
was gonna be either
facing
the
off.
team of Les Sex Gods or Garcia Co.
Yeah, facing off against Ricky Starks and Action Andretti. Um, but Les Sex Gods actually get the nod here. I did not think that was going to happen. I thought maybe Action Andretti and Ricky Starks were going to get the nod. No, not what happened. Action Andretti officially gets his first loss, but not as a singles competitor. And tag team action gets a loss here.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a lot. He doesn't have a loss so far as a singles competitor.
Which, I mean, that's, it's okay that he takes a loss in a tag team match because it's not going to derail his singles momentum.
No, exactly. But with the help of Daniel Garcia, that's
another reason why it doesn't help. It doesn't kill his momentum because basically it shows that like even in a tag team match, you can't beat Action Andretti out without the help of like outside interference. So, and that's the
right.
thing too is Action Andretti right now is just having a hell of a push. So.
Oh, and I bet you all the WWE fans are like, "Why are you pushing this job?" Or look,
Hey, look, they
because
did the same thing in 1994 or 93, whenever it was, when they had the 1-2-3 kid upset Razor Ramon.
look, I look at it this way.
Do your history.
I look at it this way. AEW will at least, push up new and upcoming stars.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of have with WWE, but it's more
it's
so
certainly
legacy.
a dying trend.
Yeah, like, I get it, but honestly, not as much as with AEW, and I don't want to go into that talk. It's going to be a long, lengthy talk, but we got into our second match of the night. Darby Allin faces off against Buddy Matthews for the TNT Championship. To no surprise, Darby Allin does retain against Buddy Matthews. But afterwards, Samoa Joe, who, by the way, I mean, little spoiler alert for anybody that has not watched last week's Dynamite, including us, Samoa Joe is yet again a TNT champion. So, little spoiler alert, he does want the TNT championship back. Could they face off again soon? Well, yeah, they face off in last week's Dynamite.
Oh yes, it was that no hold barred match.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and then Samoa Joe did gain back the TNT Championship. I get it. Yes, it's a hot potato title right now. But honestly, I guess I'm not mad with Samoa Joe being the champion as long as they do something with it where he defends it.
Let's
frequently.
not also forget though that he is also the. Let's not forget he's also the Ring of Honor Television Champion. He's kind of got his hands full with those two titles. Cause...
I know, but it's still something. So we get onto our first little segment. Adam Cole is now teasing a return to the ring at Revolution. Personally, I don't know who against, unless he finds somebody to face off against. But honestly, personally, I guess I would be okay with him not competing at Revolution. Maybe getting involved in some kind of angle at Revolution. We'll have to find out. So the Jungle Hook, we get on to our next match. Jungle Hook faces off against Matt Hardy and Ethan Page. Matt Hardy and Ethan Page seem to be kind of on the same page, but Stokely Hathaway doesn't seem to be liking Matt Hardy at all. Especially in this match, it seemed like they weren't seeing eye to eye. But well, again they take another L as Jungle Hook beats Matt Hardy and Ethan Page here. I tell you, man, Jungle Hook might just be the next tag team that could garnish some wins to be able to move up the tag team rankings. Who knows? I mean, I guess I wouldn't be mad with that, per se, but you still have Hook, and it just shows you that you kind of lost hope in Jungle Boy and
Yeah,
Hook
well,
as singles
especially Hook,
competitors.
but more so Jungle Boy. Yeah, I mean, like it's sad that they're still struggling to find something to do with Hook. It's like he's literally your FTW champion. Like, how can you not build around that and make something out of that?
Right. So, get on to our next segment. We have the family therapy session, and Billy wonders when the Guns became entitled. And then Austin says, "You're the one to talk about how we get raised when he was on the road, set 365 days out of the year, which is not true. They do have some breaks, but I mean, they basically are just damn near on the road for 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 the whole entire year. Says that moment where the tag team titles were supposed to be with the Guns, but they got ditched for the Acclaim, which is probably true. Um, Wants to know when we will be first, and then says never. Anthony Bones says he thinks they are the biggest pieces of shit he ever met in his entire life, and he means that. Billy says the Guns took the easy way out and they say their faults as sons are his failure of being a father, which that's some deep shit.
Hmm.
Asks what will make them happy, and the Guns say the tag team titles. Thoughts?
Something tells me it's.
I will
I
say
mean,
this now.
it's still basically
This
going to
is
be.
February 6th. We are
Yeah,
less than a month away from Revolution. You're going to build into the
yeah,
Guns versus the Acclaim for the tag team titles, which is totally fine by me. I'm all for Guns and the Acclaimed. I get a lot of other people like, well, why are they gonna have this? Because it makes sense for storyline. AEW is trying to go more, trying to incorporate more of those storyline aspects to the brand, which is not a bad thing.
yeah. No,
Which is
I
not a
mean,
bad thing.
you got to build stories
You do
every
have
now
to
and
you
then.
do have to build
You
stories
know,
every now and then. I get it. They also are a lot more focused on wrestling and not really telling the storylines. But honestly, this one makes the most sense in terms of daddy ass Billy Gunn
yeah,
being torn between the Guns and the Acclaimed.
his own
I am
sons and his yeah,
still on board that Billy is going to turn on the Acclaimed to help the Guns win the tag team titles at Revolution.
yeah. I
It kind of
mean,
rates itself. The Acclaim had such a great run with those tag team titles. I think it's time to have them ship them off to, you know. And personally, then again, maybe or maybe somehow the Acclaimed, or I don't know. It's weird how it is, but I really do think that Billy Gunn's going to have something, to do with the Guns winning the tag team titles at Revolution. So then they can finally be happy, have their dad back on their side, and
yeah,
have that moment where they can all cherish being the tag champs. So I think it's going to happen at Revolution. So Adam Hangman Page apparently wants to knock out Moxley. Um, on last week's episode of Dynamite. I don't know what happened. We haven't watched Dynamite. We
yeah.
still need to watch it. But thoughts on that one? I mean, you better you better be careful who he's calling out there
Well,
because
not to mention he said that in front of Moxley's wife.
yeah,
So
no, Moxley's gonna come out with a vengeance. I think so. Definitely be mindful of watching out episode 70 as we will talk about that Dynamite and Rampage. Um, so Brian Danielson faces off against Brian Cage
yeah,
in a pretty decent back and forth contest, if I remember correctly. Um, but of course, this was the match that Brian Cage got paid off to be able
yeah.
to
He
damage Brian
he was
Danielson.
paid to break Danielson's arm.
Well, I don't think he broke it. I think he kind of damaged his arm. I don't want to say he broke his arm.
Well, even
Um,
if he did, Danielson is still showing that he's got that fight in him. He still wants this match against MJF no matter what. even even if his arm is hanging by a thread. So that just shows the grit and determination of Bryan Danielson.
Right. So Bryan Danielson does beat Brian Cage an inch closer to face MJF at Revolution, and then after the match, he beats him down. Brian Cage beats him down after the match, and down comes MJF to beat down Bryan Danielson, but doesn't happen as Takeshita helps Danielson.
Yes, and also coming up, I know MJF is going to be taking on Takeshita.
Of course, before we do, who's going to take Takeshita?
MJF. He's taking on Takeshita at least this week on Dynamite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Ruby Soho, next match is going to be Ruby Soho facing off against Toni Storm. Ruby Soho does beat Toni Storm from the assist of Britt Baker. Her music plays and she comes out. I'm shocked. Of course, we'll talk about it, but I'm shocked at what happened there. I maybe thought really that Toni Storm was going to beat Ruby Soho here, but it did not happen. One, and two, Britt Baker wanting to be associated with Ruby Soho.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that one because, the whole continuity basically goes out the window when it comes to that. I mean, these two women feuded back in what, November, around Full Gear time, right after Ruby Soho debuted and won the women's casino battle royale at All Out
right.
back in 2021, and then next thing you know, she gets that world title opportunity. She faces Britt Baker, unfortunately loses, but it just proves my point of continuity basically goes out the window with that because they were feuding for so long, and even just in general, that callback, basically a callback to that feud doesn't happen anymore. So
Right. So Timothy Thatcher,
yes,
last week faced off against Bryan Danielson. Of course, we'll talk about that in Wednesday's episode. But thoughts? Timothy Thatcher, who is in Japan right now
yes,
in New Japan,
no,
in
not New
Pro
Japan,
Wrestling
Pro Wrestling
Noah.
Yes,
It's going to face off against Bryan Danielson. They're no strangers to each other either. So this is going to be interesting to see, to watch this match and talk about it in episode 70 on Wednesday. It's going to be interesting to see, who
I
won this match.
wonder if he used um, Symphony Number 9 as his theme song in AEW, or if they made him change it.
Who knows? I doubt it. I mean, but I would think that Bryan Danielson won again. I mean, he's going to get that title match. He's going to get that 60-minute time Iron Man match against MJF. It's going to be probably one of the best matches for AEW right there. First ever Iron Man match in AEW
first ever
too.
60-minute Iron Man match. I mean, for all we know, they could have another Iron Man match, but only a 30-minute.
Who knows? Either way, we go on to the main event of Dynamite as Mark Briscoe faces off against Jay Lethal.
Yeah.
Man, what a back and forth emotional contest that was between both of those men. But Mark Briscoe beats Jay Lethal with his brother's finishing move, that Jay Driller.
Yes. But it was what Mark said after the match into the camera. He was like, "Hey, Jamin, boy, I love you. I love you, man." Which, just hits you right in the heart.
So we go onto Rampage side of things as Adam Hangman Page faces off against Wheeler Yuta. Adam Hangman Page is really showing signs he wants to get into the head of Jon Moxley as he uses his finishing move to beat Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. I tell ya. Hangman Page is really, really playing with fire here. Um, so Ricky Starks states that he can beat Chris Jericho. Thoughts? I'm pretty sure, damn sure he can beat Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Um, Eddie Kingston. We were talking about Eddie Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to join the House of Black. He's basically he knows exactly how the method of there. He's just waiting for that call from the House of Black. Thoughts? I thought it was gonna be
Ortiz.
Ortiz that was gonna join, but ultimately it was Eddie Kingston that wants that call to join them. I don't know how I feel about it, but
Yeah.
honestly, I guess why not have more people join that faction, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Eddie Kingston might work in that faction, but I always thought he was somebody that liked to work better alone than with somebody else. But I mean, he's worked with others in the past, but it makes me wonder if Homicide would be okay with this.
Well, that's interesting that you mention that because, like, who's to say Homicide doesn't like make an appearance in AEW or whatever, another appearance in AEW, basically sets Eddie Kingston straight and like tells him like, hey man, like what are you doing out there? Like, you know, this ain't you or something like that. Like I don't know what would happen with that, but it's safe to say like who's to say that Homicide doesn't like make an appearance in AEW and is basically there to like uh set Eddie Kingston straight.
Right. So Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satin saying face off against Best Friends and Danhausen. Um, I guess the one highlight of this was when Danhausen and Jeff Jarrett were kind of battling off with the ukulele and the guitar.
Oh yes,
I think that was kind
yes,
of hilarious as they went up and one got cheered and one got booed. But ultimately, it was Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh that beat the Best Friends in Danhausen. Um, I I did see one interesting note. They're like, oh, how come Danhausen isn't getting used more often as he's the leading merchandise seller in AEW? Look, I don't know. That's all on Tony Khan. Um, I get it. Danhausen is the top in merch, and if that was to be the case in WWE, he would be the top guy. But I don't know what to say. Honestly, I mean, he's kind of just there as a side character, not really there as a main guy. I do
yeah.
agree. Maybe he should compete a little bit more often because he's actually good when he's serious.
Well,
But
honestly, it's not entirely his fault because he had to go somewhere to find work,
mhm,
and he found AEW while um, Ring of Honor was entering its hiatus.
right,
So he had to go somewhere, but I feel as though now that Ring of Honor is under the ownership of Tony Khan, why can't Danhausen once again be the center of the spotlight in Ring of Honor?
you very well could. So we were talking about Ruby Soho on Dynamite, but on Rampage, um, Britt Baker wants to know what side she will choose, the good side or the bad side.
I think Ruby Soho is a good girl, but at the same time, it would come completely out of left field if she was to choose the bad side, which, not for nothing, I feel like that's the direction that they're gonna go with Ruby Soho,
Honestly,
which would be
if
a little
that's the
weird to
if
tell you
that's
the
the
truth.
case, then I guess you got more the use out of her. But if she does choose the good side, I mean, you don't really hardly utilize her as
Yeah,
much. I guess teaming her up with Britt Baker and that little group of theirs wouldn't be exactly a bad thing, but Who knows? I guess we'll find out. See what kind of side she chooses. I think that she'll probably choose the good side.
Well, that's another thing too. Who knows? Maybe if she goes to the bad side, maybe Britt Baker can pull some strings to get her a world championship match against Jamie Hayter, which Ruby Soho actually wins. Who knows?
Who knows? Uh, Not really much to say about this, but Powerhouse Hobbs basically destroys Tony Mudd. Not really much to say about that one. Top Flight and AR Fox. Yeah, you remember them. They won the
Yeah, that trios
trios
casino battle royale or
for
whatever it
the
was. Yeah,
three
it was like
hundred
3 grand.
thousand
Yeah, 300. That's right,
three
300,000.
hundred thousand dollars. Well, they want to use that for good fortune as they want to challenge the Elite for the trios tag team titles. Thoughts on that one?
As well, they should. They won them fair and square. The Elite are basically like too scared to put their titles on the line. It seems, and even just in general, like there's a lot of trios out there that you could potentially like. I don't know. It almost seems to me like they're kind of to- tossing aside the trios division to focus more on the tag team division. But I mean, it's fine if you want to, make it.
But honestly, I will say that I think Top Flight and AR Fox will definitely give a great challenge to
Yeah,
the Elite, but I don't think they're going to beat the Elite for those trios tag team titles as they just came back and just earned them in a lengthy 7 match series
yeah.
with Death Triangle, so I don't see them losing those titles at all
At least
anytime
anytime
soon.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So Dustin Rhodes seems to want to smoke with Swerve Strickland after he brought up his dad. Thoughts? Um, I guess I would be okay with them facing off against each other, but Dustin, I hate to say it, after that match, you might just get beaten down, and I don't know if there's anybody to really save you from the Mogul affiliates. Then
Yeah.
again, I could be wrong. Maybe there's somebody out there that could save him.
I
Um,
mean, if he was still in the company, I would say Cody, but
I mean, I guess you have Brock Anderson and
Lee Moriarty or not Moriarty, Lee Johnson. Well, no, not even Lee Johnson because he's part of the firm or not the firm, the
Factory.
factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be. I guess it would have to be Lee John or not Lee Brock Anderson.
Oh, I mean, who knows? Maybe they could. Um, but all right, we get on to the last match of the night. I know a little quick episode.
Well,
Um, it's Jamie Hayter facing off against Emi Sakura. Jamie Hayter beats Emi Sakura, even though I mean it was a pretty good match. I mean, Emi Sakura is well
both
respected by
women were
Jamie Hayter.
lighting each other up
Oh
with
yeah,
chops,
oh yeah,
though.
their chest was beat red,
Oh my
both of them.
god.
Oh yeah, but this is going to conclude this episode of No Final Bell. I know a little shorter than we usually do. It's only because this was like 2 weeks ago. I really kind of remember the matches, but we just wanted to say who won and who didn't. We'll specify a little bit more from last week's Dynamite Rampage because it'll be fresh in our minds. Um, but we like I said, we would like to conclude this episode. Please make sure to follow us on social media at Tinkle Sports as um, we have this on Facebook Watch as well as YouTube. Make sure to follow to subscribe to Tinkle Sports Entertainment. Of course, like, comment, and share these videos with your friends. Of course, we have Outer Turn 4 Tuesday at 5 p.m. This show is typically every Wednesday at 5 p.m., but for this week it's going to be Monday, I think, at 5, and then Wednesday at 5. We're going to try. And then also we have Sunday Morning Tinkle every Sunday at 9 a.m. unless we are on hiatus because there won't be much else to talk about. But um, Of course, everyone, we will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.